The United States could be in a tricky situation in the Middle East in the coming months and years. We are likely seeing the beginning of a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. We're all familiar with the Iran deal that was pushed out by the Obama administration, which will, in several years, allow Iran to become a nuclear power. Well, Saudi Arabia wants to create nuclear energy in their country as part of the Crown Prince's 2030 vision, where he plans to diversify the economy and the power infrastructure to make Saudi Arabia more competitive with its neighbors. Well, he's also stated that if Iran were to get nuclear weapons, then Saudi Arabia would have no choice but to develop them as well. So because of the Iran deal, Iran will likely be able to develop nuclear warheads several years in the future. When President Trump has talked about ending the Iran deal, Iran has stated that if that is done, then they will resume their research into nuclear warheads, and they will likely have a nuclear arsenal much sooner than expected. So this creates two problems, because Iran will eventually have nuclear weapons, or they could have them much sooner. But if they go with the sooner option, then it won't be sanctioned by the US, and there might be something that we can do to stop them, like President Trump has been doing with North Korea. We have an issue because the United States and Israel are currently using the Saudi Arabian government to pressure Palestine to come to talks with Israel about peace. So the United States might not be willing to abandon Saudi Arabia over these nuclear aspirations, because that would likely be the best solution for us to say, hey, no, Saudi Arabia, we don't support what you're going to do here. We don't need more nuclear weapons in the Middle East. But they're not going to do that because, as I reported before, the Saudi Arabian government needs support and stability from the US government while it's undergoing these reforms. And in return, the United States wants Saudi Arabia to pressure Palestine to talk about peace. So we're probably not going to just move away from Saudi Arabia. But if we do, that could create a problem, because currently Iran is backed by Russia. And if Saudi Arabia were to move away from the United States, because we wouldn't work with them on that, China or Russia would be very happy to either sell nuclear material to Saudi Arabia or help them out, because Saudi Arabia does not have the experience to run its own nuclear reactors or potentially nuclear missile sites. So that would require an outside party to come in and help them run it. Now, what could happen is, if, say that they worked with Russia. Currently in Egypt, Russia is constructing nuclear sites in Egypt, and with the cooperation of the Egyptian government, they will be overseeing them and running them. We could see that happen in Saudi Arabia if Saudi Arabia moves away from the United States, which on one hand gives Russia a strategic nuclear foothold in the region, but it also, now Russia in this situation has Iran and Saudi Arabia, two Middle Eastern nuclear powers, working with it. And we also lose one of our major strategic regional allies. And we are left with only Israel. Now that's not good, because currently we have Israel and Saudi Arabia. Even though we're not fans of Saudi Arabia, it's still better than nothing, than purely Israel, because we will no longer have the leverage to use an Islamic nation to pressure other Islamic nations to be friendly with Israel. Now, this is not about whether or not we should be supporting Israel, because there are a lot of schools of thought on that, but this is just examining the field as it lays and playing strategically within those parameters. So, because of that, we likely won't be stepping away from Saudi Arabia, because we need them for Israel. So that means that we will likely see, in the coming months, coming years, we will likely see the Russia-backed Iran becoming a nuclear power, and the US-backed Saudis becoming a nuclear power. Now, tensions only escalate in this region. Rarely, now we might see it if this Crown Prince will do what he's saying that he will do, but we only typically see tensions rise in the Middle East. We could have, if the United States doesn't stop Saudi Arabia's nuclear program and we're not able to stop Iran's nuclear program, we could see a war between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which will effectively be a proxy war between the United States and Russia. Not a good situation, not a situation we want to be in. So, the question now is, how should the United States best approach this situation? Not entirely sure, because if we choose not to support them in their pursuit of nuclear energy, then they're in Russia's back pocket. However, if we do support them, then we could see tensions rise between them and Iran, potentially erupting in a war. It's not a good situation to be in, but we'll have to see how it goes. We'll have to continue following this situation. But that is the story of how the nuclear arms race in the Middle East is beginning. This is Jake Lloyd for Infowars.com.
It's been sold out for months, and now it's back. It's Myco ZX Plus. Lower price, more ingredients, because we scaled up, signed a year contract with an even bigger organic manufacturer and producer. Scalability. But now we're able to go at 50% off to $27 instead of $39, 50% off. Because there's a lot of product and a lot of ingredient in Myco ZX. Now, it's the other side of the equation. Everybody thinks about probiotics and how great they are for your gut because of toxins in the environment, pesticides, herbicides, but more importantly than bad bacteria that probiotics help displace, yeast mold creates slime walls. And once the candida and the yeast and the mold and all that get in there, it causes all sorts of serious issues. Well, this has got a bunch of concentrated herbs in it and compounds known to destroy that slime wall. Don't wait to start detoxifying your body until it's too late. Pick up a bottle of the new and improved Myco ZX Plus now from the Infowars store.